Ladies and gentlemen, we are here to discuss whether AEW has too much talent today. Welcome to the Tavern on a Tube. I am the OG Fake Kid, Thomas Montalto.
I'm Chad from Turnbuckle Tavern.
I'm Mike Belcaster from Mike Belcaster World.
How's it going, guys?
It's going good, man.
So all this talk going around, AEW has too much talent. What are they doing? How are they going to handle all this talent? Let's get to the bottom of it. Do you think AEW has too much talent?
No. No.
It's a fairly easy answer, but like I get the outlook on it. People are like, oh, you know, they have this. All these people aren't on every week, you know. But that's part of the magic of it. It's like you got to have the buildup. You have to have, you know, you can't have steak and potatoes every day. Eventually, you're going to get sick of it, you know. So it's good to pace yourselves and just go kind of through the emotions and go through the withdrawals, and you just want it more, you know.
I mean, what the hell is too much talent? If the Yankees had 12 guys who hit 40 home runs, are you going to say you have too many guys who hit home runs? No, you want as much talent as you can possibly have. And really, is it too much talent, or is it that AEW is just using everybody right?
Yeah,
it's the dumbest. It's like the fucking stupidest critique I've heard on AEW. There's too much talent. How are they going to get to all these people? This gives you the best situation you can be in, which is you won't oversaturate talent. Like, dude, you're not going to be cycling in the same 20 to 25 talent every week. Case in point, this past Wednesday, the segment with Jericho and MJF was like a minute long. And that's all you needed. That's all you needed to further that story. And they got to focus on other people. Miro, minute long clip. Didn't have to see him in a match. They're so good at giving this wealth of talent their little bits to keep you strung along in their individual storylines. And it blows my mind. To me, that is a WWE mindset for someone to say there's too much talent, because they're so used to seeing the same fucking people doing the same matches week after week after week. Like, dude, this is a great problem to have.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like you couldn't have said it better. I think that it's just, I mean, they're on almost 5 days a week now. Like I think we're missing like, you know, 1 day out of that. I think it's 4 days now, right? And with Rampage coming up, there's got plenty of room for showcasing people. I think everybody gets a fair screen time. Like you said, all those little bits where you're doing like these 1 minute promos or like these 1 minute segues. Beautiful stuff. Beautiful. Miro. It's like the little, you know, the title shot with the, you know, the new white title. Beautiful stuff, man. The Bulgarian title of TNT. I loved it. I think that it just makes, I don't know, they're doing it perfect, man. Really are.
It makes you miss people. It makes you miss, like, remember when Hogan, you know, back in the late 80s, early 90s, like, you didn't trot Hogan out every show.
Yeah.
You know, when he came out, you missed him. You wanted to see him. He wasn't wrestling every night, you know, like, I feel like we missed some of that. And, you know, me and Sneed on this week's Turnbuckle Tavern episode, we got on the discussion of, are there too many shows? You know, everyone says, man, there's too many shows to keep up with. Dark and Elevation and Rampage coming up, and obviously Dynamite. And what we were discussing is, you know, Dark and Elevation is really like AEW's Performance Center.
Yeah.
You know, they don't have a Performance Center Academy. That is the place where they're, you know, those people aren't signed wrestlers. Sure, they might bring in a few of their mid-card guys. Some of their upper card might pop in and out, but for the most part, these are unsigned guys who they're kind of trying to see, you know, who can we recruit? Who can we scout?
Yeah.
And it's genius. We were talking about, you know, the Performance Center, they're in this warehouse. They're only being seen by WWE employees who are working down there. Whereas with Dark, it's like they have a traveling PC where they can go into these markets, especially with fans back, and they can get that live reaction. And it's not just on the people who work at the Performance Center dictating who can get over and who can't. The crowd is telling you who they connect with. So, you know, And with those shows, I feel like it's a perfect way to spread out that talent. You know, you got the Varsity Blondes who just signed contracts with AEW this week. They're a staple of Dark and Elevation, but they're not getting tons of time. Every now and then they'll pop on Dynamite, but I feel like AEW is doing a phenomenal job of spreading the talent around and letting everyone get a showcase.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's like the absence does make the heart grow fonder. And like you said, WWE did that thing where you wouldn't see their top guy all the time back in the 80s and early 90s. And I feel that changed during the Attitude Era because they needed to compete with WCW. But when WCW went away, they never adjusted. They just kept using that same formula. And that same formula doesn't work anymore.
No, absolutely. You can't have, nowadays you can't have Stone Cold on every single night. It's gonna water down Stone Cold. It's gonna make the character bland. Like we get it with Roman Reigns. He's great, but I feel like for his first couple years outside of the Shield, it was forced. Very forced.
Yeah,
and it would take away from. Imagine if we would see him once a month. And then he comes out with Paul Heyman, the crowd goes apeshit. And you get all this amazing feedback from it, and they're like, "Wow, I think you tend to value something you don't see so often. It's like a rainbow. If you've seen rainbows every day, it would lose the specialness of it. But you see it, after a badass thunderstorm, you're like, damn, that's a beautiful ass rainbow.
Right.
That's exactly what it is.
Yeah, it's funny too because they kind of have that situation with Lesnar, where Lesnar isn't there every time, and it kind of makes him more of an attraction. And I know a lot of people's like, he's not there every week defending the belt. People were upset about it, but that's kind of an old school mentality. And the funny thing about that is that's because Lesnar just doesn't want to work a whole lot. That's not WWE making that decision. They're being forced because Lesnar doesn't want to be there every Monday Night Raw. But, back to AEW and the inflated roster, what are these fans going to do when Daniel Bryan shows up? Or it's just going to continue, man. It's just going to continue.
No, they're pretty low on the numbers for the roster. It's not huge, nothing massive. It's not 220 workers that aren't being on TV every week. They're showcasing as much as they can. With all the shows, you get Dark and Elevation are so well put together. Then you get this big explosion during Dynamite. I'm expecting Rampage to be batshit crazy because AEW's been kicking ass, and then the 4 monthly or the 4 yearly pay-per-views. So that also adds to it. The pay-per-views are an attraction. You're not watching a Backlash filler pay-per-views that tarnish what the overall show is. So I think they're just really balancing everything so damn well.
Well, I also look forward to the TNT specials, the quarterly TNT specials. That's going to be awesome too, to be in between the pay-per-views, and I'm sure you'll see a lot of stuff setting up pay-per-views. With the Rampage coming too, you're going to have another whole hour that you're going to have to fill. So you're going to be putting these guys on there. And the thing I always wondered about was with Dark and Elevation, you're showing other companies, WWE, talent for free. They don't even have to go anywhere to scout. They could just tune into that. And I wonder if somewhere down the road, if somebody, WWE picks up somebody that they loved out of there, are they going to change their philosophy with showing these shows every week?
I think their philosophy is like, hey, if you want to go with those guys, good luck. Godspeed.
Yeah.
You see the culture we've created here. You get to experience that. If you want to roll the dice and go to another company, have at it. We have all the talent we need. I don't think they're worried about that. I think they have faith in the culture they're creating in that company, and it shows. Anytime an ex-WWE guy shows up there, they're blown away by the difference of the wrestlers' mentalities. It's not as cutthroat. Yeah.
I mean, how much do you hear about the backstage being talked about? People just love being back there, and you can see it if you watch Ethan Page's videos. They're just having fun back there. It's like a good atmosphere.
Yeah. So, it's like a family reunion every Wednesday. That's what it should be. It shouldn't be, hostility or, like you're fearing to step on people's toes or anything like that. Like, you should be enjoying your work, enjoying the people you work with, and just overall having a good time, especially when you're doing something as like high of a caliber as like a wrestler, being on TV every week. You know, that's a hard enough job as it is with the travel and being away from your family. It's important to enjoy your workspace, right?
Yeah, you should feel the freedom to just be yourself and not be afraid and have to tone yourself down and kind of toe the company line. I feel like they're really good at letting people just kind of be who they are and celebrating them for it. And I guess one of the criticisms of this kind of discussion that I kind of see a little bit of their side is when they're saying that AEW isn't putting as much focus on some of their female talent. Like some of the female talent isn't getting a stage to show their work on Dynamite because of the roster. They have so many stories going on that take precedent. But what I would say to that is, and this isn't knocking any of the talent, but I think they have a very young women's roster, and I feel like they're slowly letting them develop before they start pushing more of their females into main national TV storylines. Because, you know, we're not talking about the Sashas and Becky's and Charlotte's and all of the girls that have been wrestling for 7, 8, 9 years with all this experience. There's a lot of young talent, and I think they're taking their time with that, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that. And if the women there have a problem with it, just step up like Britt Baker did.
Yeah,
she got herself all the time she wants now because of what she turned herself into, and it is, you know, probably in the top 3 performers in AEW right now.
Yeah.
You know, if not maybe the top. People love her, and she's built this character. She did it all on her own, you know, with a little guidance talk. You hear her, she talked to Jericho and she talked to other people. I mean, she's turned herself into a must-see attraction. Plenty of people will turn into AEW every week just to see her.
Yeah.
So
no, absolutely.
And it's well deserved. She did that on her own, and you know, more people have got to do that. Like, you look at Darby Allin and the young guys that have all done it over there. Orange Cassidy, they've gotten them. They were handed, you know, they were given an opportunity and they took the ball and they ran.
Exactly.
So, yeah, that's if that's too much talent, then keep giving it to me.
Yeah, Britt Baker was on Busted Open Radio this week, and she talked about Rampage and how Rampage is going to be a place where some of the females will get more time and opportunity to show what they've got. I find it funny though, Tom, you bring up the young talent, and that's another thing, you know, yeah, they have this inflated roster and everyone's like, they're hiring too many WWE people, but it's like, those people are being brought in as coaches and people to kind of show this young talent the way, and they're not being thrust into title implicated. Miro, but Miro's in the prime of his career. But I think they do a very good job of utilizing their veterans and also building young talent. You look at MJF, Sammy Guevara, Darby Allin, Orange Cassidy, Britt Baker, all of this young talent they're building. And then you've got WWE, and their big surprise that's floating on the internet right now is they might bring back Goldberg. Like, come on, dude.
Crazy.
What are you doing?
If that's true and he shows up on Raw on Monday, I hope the live crowd boos him out of the building. I hope that's not what they hand after a year and a half. That's better not what they hand to us. But I want to talk about one of my favorite younger talents in AEW is Ethan Page in that Coffin match the other night. Did you see his face when he looked at that hook? Like, how fucking good was that, man?
So good.
He like, and you watch him on his blog. Like, I love the guy. I watch him every week, and he's such a nice guy. But he plays that bad guy.
Yeah,
he's so good, man. He's got, you know, what a career ahead of him he has, because he's such a young guy too.
Yeah. No, I've been following him for a couple of years now. Like, seeing some of his older work with Darby before he even signed to like Impact. You know, it was awesome shit. And then you see all that built up in last week's match. That match was well done. You know, and there was I hate that they cut picture in picture now, because I just want to see the whole damn thing now. Yeah. And like you lose focus because you're losing the audio on it. It's like, put the commercial picture in picture. Yeah, right. But man, like you see two young talented guys just busting their asses, and showing you their worth. You don't get time for that in another company.
And the fact that they carried it over from the Indies, and they showed a couple of clips from there, and like they showed that this feud has got like backstory,
right?
Not just like it started here. Like they're doing everything right, and I love it. And like, okay, this is probably the end for them for now, but they're gonna pick this up again down the road at some point.
Yeah, and if you followed Ethan Page when he was in the North and Impact, that dude he's only just scratching the surface of the complete just heel douchebag guy he can be. He's going to be a major bad guy in that company. Yeah. And talking about facials, man, like what about the Cody Rhodes, Malachi Black, when they went at it and the refs were separating them, the absolute look of like crazed madness on Malachi Black's face. I was like, this guy is just in the zone right now.
Dude, he's got it. The handcuffs are off. Yeah. You could see it, man. And the fans cheering for him over Cody. I love it. Like this is Cody's in the white and he's in the black. So it's supposed to be good and evil, but the fans are rooting for the evil right now. This is what the fans want to see. I can't wait.
It's beautiful.
Me and Sneeb were talking about this though. And on the podcast, and if Malachi Black, I know everyone's wanting Cody to turn heel, myself included. Before this angle, everyone was like, he needs a change, turn. But if Malachi Black can really tap into being that heel that makes the crowd really fall back in love with Cody, a heel turn isn't as good when you're wanting the heel turn. A heel turn is better when it hurts. It's better when they turn and you're like, no, that I hope Malachi Black can get the majority of the fans back really behind Cody and okay with him being that baby face. So when that turn does happen, it just dagger to the heart.
Yeah.
I don't know if the way Malachi Black is being received right now, how they're going to get fans to boo him. I think the darker he gets, the more nuts the fans are going to go for him. It just seems like that right now. Right. But I mean, this version of Cody that we saw this week was the most entertaining I think Cody has been since AEW debuted.
Yeah, at least a long while for sure. The energy is so beautiful there, and like I love the organic feelings that you're seeing happen with the crowds back. It's hard to do it when the crowd's not there and make you actually care, or at least feel it when you're watching it on television. But yeah, man, like you were saying, like that the looks on their faces, they were selling it so beautifully. And if Cody does turn heel and the crowd's waiting for it, it's gonna not be as good as it would be. You want the turn to take your breath away, suck the life out of you, and you're like, no, come on, and that's where the magic happens. That's where the money's at. That's when you're printing T-shirts and cash, man.
It's so true. It's so true. I mean, I loved the way they booked that segment this week was perfect. Like it just left you wanting more of them.
I love that we heard from Malachi. He's on. I call it the Contron. It's not the Titantron. It's the Contron. He's on the Contron doing his an awesome little promo, and then I'm thinking like, okay, we'll get this, and then probably next week they'll get physical. And no, they go right to it. It was such a brilliant move. They didn't make us wait. It just they're really building this match.
I loved when Cody was like, "Get your ass out of here," and he goes, "I was hoping you'd say that."
The way he said it, just so freaking cool. Like, I was hoping you would say that. And then what they did in the ring wasn't even too much. It was just enough to whet our appetites.
Yep.
Just enough to like, damn, I wanted more. It wasn't like a 15-minute pull apart, where they kept escaping, and it was perfectly booked. Yeah. So I look forward to seeing, Dynamite this coming Wednesday to see what happens next.
And dude, what kind of fan are you? If when Malachi Black signs with AEW, your first thought is there's too many people on this roster. Like what? How are you not how is that where your mind goes? How are you not excited for change?
Do you know who's saying that? The WWE fanboys who are jealous that Vince wrapped him up with a bow and sent him over to AEW.
Yep.
That's the only people saying that, because every AEW fan who knew Aleister Black is happy like we are, because we know the talent that he is and what he could do. And listen, I don't care who's on my roster. If I could add a guy like that, give him to me all day long.
Yeah.
No, you're never going to let somebody get released from the other company like a Samoa Joe or an Aleister Black, and then just let them sit there and go to Ring of Honor,
right?
Or no offense to Impact, but go to Impact. Like if you're trying to be the best, you want the best people in your company to stand up for your company, show you what you could do with the magic. It's crazy to think that just because they worked here and here, just it means we're not going to want him in AEW. He's not going to be beneficial. It's just going to drag it. It's crazy. It's just ass talk.
Absolutely. And I did a quick Google search. Now, I'm sure this isn't exactly accurate, but it says right now, as far as signed under contract for AEW, there's 105 wrestlers. And then for WWE, there's 207 wrestlers. Okay. So they've got a little over 100 more people, and they don't use half of them.
Every show's the same. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And they're trotting out, instead of being excited to tune in, their idea of crowd being back and pleasing that crowd is bringing back Goldberg, when instead they should have been building this young talent through the pandemic like AEW is. And it really is an indictment. I know everyone throws this around a lot as fans, and a lot of fans say, oh, that's not true, but Vince is out of touch. And not so much just in general. I'm talking specifically about how to book wrestling. When it comes to booking wrestling, he consistently shows that he is out of touch with how fans want that product. I mean, we're wanting the Ricochets, those young guys, the Kevin Owens. Why isn't Kevin Owens a Stone Cold? No one gets to break through that ceiling anymore. And you're putting your time into the Lesnars and the Goldbergs. These big guys who are the vets, they should still be there, but we should be thrusting some of this young talent up into those main event spots. Big E, Xavier Woods, Cesaro, all of these guys. Cesaro,
listen, the perfect example is when Aleister Black and Ricochet first got called up to Raw. They were a tag team. They were over. And there was no reason for their push to stop, because the fans were going nuts for them. Aleister Black figures you could not find anywhere, not in a store. Ringside sold out of them so fast. So this guy was over back then, and they dropped the ball back then. And this guy, was punished for 2 years. He had to live through hell. Like he talked about on, Renee's podcast. He felt like he was dying a slow death. The guy was so over. I just don't understand why you stopped that push. It makes no sense to me. If you listen to the crowds, you could tell what the fans want. And if I'm a businessman and I hear who the fans are responding to, and I see what's selling, I'm only want to pushing that more. I don't want to stop pushing that. But we've seen Vince do it time and time again because he doesn't think it's working. How about what the ratings dictate? How about what the fans dictate? How about who's following who on social media? How about listen? How about you just listen for a change?
No, just to add to what Vince's mentality is, I was talking to Kevin Nash years ago, but we were talking about the NWO coming back to WWE, and he's like, the only reason why Vince cut it was because we started selling more shirts than Austin. And Vince got salty because he's like, that's not my creation, brother.
That's terrible.
Why? You want to sell the T-shirts, you want people to be excited about something you're doing. It's mind-boggling to me, man.
Prime example, Malachi Black. All of those promos on SmackDown, the promos, the black suit, the serial killer 70s glasses he had on that he took off, all of that was created in WWE. When he comes over to AEW, Tony Khan isn't like, no, we need to change this completely. He's like, let's roll with this. You've already set this up. Let's just continue it and let you really have full reign.
And if you want to hear something funny, make sure you listen to the debate show this week. And I'm just going to leave it there. I'm not going to spoil it for you, but it's so true. What you'll hear Monday is very true.
And talking about wrestlers be leaving the company and realizing that they have creative freedom and how they're underused and certain young talent doesn't get that opportunity in WWE. Carl Anderson had a Instagram post. I'm going to read it. He posted a picture in the ring against Moxley, but at the end, I thought it was very telling. He said, if you're miserable where you're at, have some balls and leave. Trust that. So when you have guys who have been there and seen it, and there's not a whole lot of people that leave and say, man, that was just great. They'll do the respectful thing and like they made a lot of money there, put me where I am today, but no one really has these glowing praise for the company, which is, dude, I feel like there's a bunch of inmates over there that can't say anything until they get out, and then it opens up.
Yeah. Now, listen, even Tommy End didn't bury the company when he left.
No.
He did it very respectfully, which because you down the road, you never know where you're going to go, what's going to happen.
Right.
So, I mean, people are smart about it. What are you going to say, Mike?
Even FTR, when they left,
Yep.
they were the same thing. They're like, we love them to death. We just could not take the fact that they were just burying tag team wrestling. And you look at how good they're doing right now.
Amazing.
They had that awesome tag run with the Bucks last year with the titles, and like they were just they were the ones that defeated Kenny Omega and Hangman, and it was beautiful, and like it's good. I love watching people get out of the rut and come into like the sunshine, and they're like, wow, like, this is really nice, man. I haven't been to the beach in years. And you're like, yeah, exactly.
and they're another example of this past Dynamite. They weren't on the show.
Yeah.
But their storyline continued because Tully was there and he has the little run in with Santana and Ortiz backstage. So it's like they're building that storyline without having to spend a ton of time. And honestly, I think that is probably one of the most underappreciated things by fans. I think fans see it. It's not talked about enough to me is the way they lay out their shows. They coming right out of the gate with a banger match, usually ending with a banger match, usually a good match in the middle. And all of the way it just moves, man, like 2 hours flies by on Wednesday night for me.
Fast.
There's no dead time. I mean, rarely am I sitting there like, what are they doing here?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I know you're referencing WWE starting with a promo every week, but if the promos weren't boring and didn't suck in the same thing every week, it'd be different. Like when you had Stone Cold or The Rock or anybody coming out, it was different. If you started off Dynamite this week with Cody coming out, cutting that promo right then and there as the show starts, it still would have been excellent because it was an awesome promo.
Yeah.
So
I think the mentality from that for Vince is just still the Attitude Era. Because it was, they started at 8:00. Or we're at 9:00 wherever you guys are living, but Nitro was still on, so you had to come out with a promo because you're already halfway through something else. So you had to give people a reason to switch over the channel.
Well,
it's not like anymore.
The formula hasn't changed for them, and it needs to because it's not the same. You need to change with the times, and Vince doesn't change with the times.
Well, the formula, the sad thing is the formula hasn't changed, but the way they handle things has. Like, back in the day when they would start with a promo, you had guys who were just going off the cuff.
Right.
Now you're having promos that are scripted and everything feels canned and overproduced. And there isn't that like spontaneity to it where you're like, what's going to happen? It all seems very scripted.
Yeah. They want actors, not wrestlers. Like I said, wrestling is the best when you can develop your character organically. You are more of a method wrestler, like method actor when you're a wrestler because you are becoming the character. So it's harder to be that when you have to read something if you don't agree with it. It goes back to Moxley saying what he did about Ambrose for the last year. He wasn't connected with any of that heel run. It was terrible. So how do you expect a guy to take off like that when it's not him? Imagine if you handed Stone Cold the script. We'd never have that whole 316 era. None of that would have ever happened.
Dude, and a lot of the people aren't wrestling people who are writing this stuff for them.
You've sent the guys who know everything, all the producers like Arn Anderson and all them guys to AEW because you're punishing them for some reason because you didn't like. I forgot what the reason they let Arn go was, but I remember it was something stupid.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and now
like,
those guys are off the chain. You know, they're
Yeah.
not handcuffed now.
yeah.
So now they can truly like speak their mind and add stuff to the product without fear of reprisal.
Yep.
Yeah.
But, so you watch Elevation and Dark every week. Who are some other guys, some young guys that you are excited to see in the future?
Me,
Yeah.
Willer Yuta, man. He just
Yeah.
showed up on Dynamite. That kid is going. People don't realize like he had matches on Dark and Elevation leading up to that debut on Dynamite, and the kid is good, man. He's really good. There's several. Let me think here.
Yeah, you also forget the Acclaim started on Dark. And,
Yeah.
and you know, and Tony Khan had to go in and sign them because they were close to WWE wanted them also.
Yeah.
So
another guy that's I think he's been on Dark twice. Matt Justice. That dude is so good, man. He wrestles a lot around Cleveland and the independents. He's wrestled for GCW and Absolute Intense Wrestling and wrestles in Chicago. That dude is killer, man. Like
Solid worker.
So good. Obviously he's been on NWA. He has a history, but he's popped up, I think, once or twice. I would love if they signed Zicky Dice.
Yeah.
I would really like Zicky Dice, but yeah, there's a lot of people. That's the fun thing about Dark. It's not necessary to watch, but it's usually something I'll turn on when I'm about to go to bed and I just kind of have wrestling on in the background and catch up on it.
No, for sure.
Yeah,
John Skyler, he's a young guy too. That's
I love John Skyler.
He's old school work mentality.
Yeah, man.
He's just badass brother, man. He goes in the ring. He makes it, back like old school believable. Yeah. You're like, holy shit, like, this guy's doing some fucking awesome stuff. And like, I love seeing the showcase of young talent. Like that was really cool during like the whole pandemic. I know Dark was long as shit, but like you got to see so much cool stuff come out of it. And like now you got like people like Matt Hardy going on there. And like, he'll be the main event feature, but you get so much badass stuff beforehand. And like, it just builds it like Varsity Blondes. Varsity Blondes are a perfect example. Like it makes you want to see these people get signed, and like, they're working there, they're getting a payday, but they're not under contract yet. But now you got Brian Pillman and Griff Garrison in the tag team killing it on the main roster. I can't wait for, to see what else is happening. The Acclaim too. The Acclaim was a brilliant thing. Like you're watching, Max Caster come out and cut these awesome, rhymes, diss tracks on his way out there, and he's funny as shit. But he's also great in the ring too. So it's like it's so cool to see them kind of flourish and make so much more out of who they are. You wouldn't get that in NXT or WWE. Maybe NXT. Maybe early NXT. Right. Years ago. Now it's NXT starting to get a little to that point where it's like, no, don't do that. Like, what are you doing? But like, the Acclaim, if the Acclaim would have went to WWE, they would be, they wouldn't be in the same boat as they are right now. I think Max Caster's over. And I don't even think we've only gotten to see him a few times in front of a crowd. Just wait, 5 years from now, the Acclaim's going to be huge. And it's going to be badass. Same thing with the Varsity Blondes. I'm so pumped, man.
Prime example with Varsity Blondes is, when they started, Griff and Brian Pillman Jr. were working singles matches on Dark.
Yeah.
And then we had Griff Garrison on the show when I think they had one tag match together. And they didn't have a name. They didn't have matching gear. And they started doing the Pillman thing and the Hollywood Blondes thing. And then that happened. And then, they've had they had the title match against the Bucks. They've just recently signed a contract. They put Julia Hart with them with the cheerleader gimmick. They've got matching gear now. They look like a squad. And prime example, like my girlfriend does not watch wrestling really. I mean, she'll see it on when I'm watching it. She comes into the room, she's seen them, and she sees Varsity Blondes with Julia Hart come out, and she's like, I think they're my favorite. So they're connecting with someone that doesn't like wrestling, and they came from Dark.
Yeah, it's beautiful stuff.
My wife connected instantly with Jungle Boy. And, she went from watching WWE with me because she actually watches it, but she didn't know anybody in AEW, but she instantly started that connection right away because of how they do things. And it's important to do that. That's how I started watching AEW. I didn't watch the whole thing every week. I would DVR it and fast forward. And then within the first year, I was watching the whole episode because you started to care about everybody. So
yeah. I've been a crackhead since day one, watching everything they put out. I've consumed.
Yeah. I was going to say something and it just slipped my mind. Tony Khan's idea was to form the Acclaim too. They were in a team when they came in there, and they were both from Creative Pro. So
yeah, he had that name. He said he had that name in his head for a long time, the Acclaimed, and it just he said it just worked.
Yeah, and Max Caster is such a nice guy. And imagine him trying to being handed a script to rap something to the ring, and it had to be PG.
It would kill him.
Come on, it would be terrible.
There wouldn't be an Acclaimed anymore.
There'd probably be a sponsorship in there or something every week. Talking about Disney.
Oh yeah, I can't remember the thing he said to Mox when he had the match against Mox, and he dropped that thing about Renee Young. I can't remember what it was, but I remember it was
the oral sessions.
Yeah, the oral sessions, like
going oral with Renee or something like that. And like,
I'm not talking about her podcast.
You would never see that on WWE.
No, never. No, it was great though. That's like the organicness of like all these young guys coming up, man. Like. They're hungry too, they're trying to prove that they're worth the spots. So that's why I feel like Dark and Elevation are like these two beautiful things, because you're getting to see the inner workings of these young people or these new characters, like just forming and building up their story, and they're full character, You after the while you see them really dive into it too, which is like Max Caster. Like when he first came out, he wasn't, booty butt cheeks guy. And like now he comes out and he's cutting these awesome fucking promos before his matches. And like even the Battle Royal at Double or Nothing, that was hysterical. And like he was in there for a short time, but it was so good. It was like, damn, man, like, and it made me want more Max Caster.
Yeah, so he's entertaining, man.
Yeah, very entertaining. And I just think they have a really good formula, kind of how, like, we were just saying, it builds up the absent makes the heart grow stronger, so you want to see these people way more now, and it just drives up sales, tickets, merch. Everybody's like, shit, I haven't seen Max Caster on TV, maybe we'll buy a t-shirt of his on Pro Wrestling Tees or AEW shop, and like and you're like, oh shit, he's on next week, hell yeah.
And it's free, it's on YouTube. You don't have to have cable, you don't have to have subscription service. There's a lot of wrestling companies out there that you have to pay to properly follow them, and they're giving you 2 to 3 hours worth of wrestling for free on YouTube. Come on.
I don't even get to talk about companies charging on YouTube. How are you gonna gain new followers when you're putting it behind a paywall? Because if you don't know the company, even if it's just $5, I'm not going to go put out $5, I don't think, for a company I don't know at all. You got to put something out there, even if you put it out there for a couple of days for free, and then it goes behind a paywall or something.
It's a hard road. If you're not really known, it's like NWA. I love NWA. I pay the $5 to watch Power because I was a fan of Power when it was free on YouTube. Yeah. But if you're someone who's never watched NWA, I would find it hard to, even if it's a price of a cup of coffee, you're still gonna be like, man, it's $5 here, $5 there. It all starts adding up.
Yeah, you're limiting yourself from getting new fans, I feel. So, even now Twitch is so popular. Put it on Twitch, and you don't charge. Do something where you could have bonuses if you want to see more or something. You have to pay reviews.
I love about Impact is that, like, I'll get a little Twitch notification every once in a while. It'll be random as shit. It'll be like 9:30 at night. They're like, ding, 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 time to watch some wrestling. You're like, all right, like, whatever, let's throw it on.
So do you guys think, getting back to the roster too loaded, how many people do you think they sign out of all of these release free agents? Do you think they're going to add a lot of people coming up, or do you think there's only going to be a handful of big ones?
I think there's only going to be a handful of big ones.
No, I say, they already got Tommy End. I say maybe 2 or 3 more. It's not going to be a ton. Maybe a couple of the females to boost to the women's division. But look what they did last year. They have Ty Conti and Miro. Right. That's the only 2 people right now. They had Matt Cardona for a cup of coffee and whatever happened there. But no, they're not going to sign a ton of them. They're going to, I say 2 or 3 more, maybe 4 if you go like if they pick up a couple of the women. You never know where the Iconics will land. That would be a big boost to get them over there.
Yeah, I really think they found their sweet spot, and I think a few more additions aren't going to kill anything. It's just going to make it better, Yeah. Give us like 4 or 5 more wrestlers. Nobody's going to bat an eye at it. I think it's as long as it's beneficial for the company, and it doesn't take away. Like we were talking about how Braun Strowman's got some heat with Evil Uno and indie workers. Like as long as it's not one of those cases where it's a Braun Strowman that comes in and like starts bringing down the locker room vibe or something like that.
Right.
Not
What
saying
if
that
they
anyone,
bring
but
him
just
in?
to get,
But what if they bring him in and work that into the story, which is something I could see AEW doing?
Yeah,
it's funny. Yeah,
Wrestling is the best when it's from real life, pulling real life stuff into it.
For sure. Like I say, prove me wrong. Absolutely prove me wrong with who Braun Strowman is, because I never really got behind him. But I mean, it's not going to kill anything for me. I'm still going to be watching because I know the product's going to be fantastic.
No,
I think they're going. Go ahead, Tom.
I was going to say, you talk about the Christian and Big Show and Mark Henry. Those guys are there for way more than just a TV presence. They're there more for their ideas and helping people behind the scenes and
growing the brand.
Yes, and you talk about some great minds for wrestling there that can help the company in so many other ways. They're not there for being used as talent on TV, even though we'll see them, Christian, a little more. And eventually we'll probably see Big Show wrestle. And Mark Henry said he has got more left in the tank, but they're not there for that. They're just going to be used as a special attraction. So when people start crying about them, it's like, shut up.
Right.
No, look at Christian just had one of his best performances ever. And like that's saying something. And how cool was it that he got to do a program with Matt Hardy after all these years and make it make sense to where it wasn't like, oh, we're going to do a tables match because that's our shtick, kid. Like, like it was organic.
It was a great wrestling match,
dude. They worked a fucking collar and elbow for the first 3 to 5 minutes of that match, and it was awesome.
Yeah. It was organic. Awesome. I wasn't even thinking about the Hardy Christian like crossover until they started doing it on TV again, and I was like, shit. Like, and it's just like because they were doing it so good and they were keeping both of them away from each other for the first while, and then it organically happens, and like you're like, fuck yeah, I want to see this. Like, why would I not want to see this? We watched all the TLC matches growing up. Like, fuck, give me it, man, and it was great.
And the other amazing thing about that match is it wasn't either of them guys who are a little older needing to work with a younger guy to carry them. They carried a match on their own. An amazing match that could have taken place 20 years ago just happened today, and they weren't slow.
And to think they were supposed to be over the hill.
Yeah.
Like, like Christian's working just as good as any young guy right now.
100%.
He's phenomenal. And talking about Mark Henry, what you were talking about, Tom, how, helping in the back, not only are they good, kind of teachers and for the booking and the wrestling of it all. Mark Henry was on Busted Open today talking about how in Austin, they were doing charity work with the Boys and Girls Club, and they had yet to do that. So a lot of stuff he's bringing to the table is getting out in the community and spreading the word of AEW with, young kids and doing outreach programs within the company. The stuff that WWE has done for decades.
Yeah.
AEW now has someone who's familiar with that, who can help grow the company from a grassroots level. I think that is ingenious. And talking 100%. About who are they going to sign from all of these free agents? I think we're going to get maybe 2 or 3 little, maybe like a Ruby Riot, nothing, a couple, but I do feel like they've got probably 2 things in their pocket that's going to go for the fucking jugular.
Yeah.
I think they're sitting that they have something, dude. I 100% think Daniel Bryan, and here lately with just some of the things I'm seeing, like, I don't think this will happen, but I would not be shocked if a Lesnar would show up at some point.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be. It wouldn't shock me. I don't want that to happen, but it wouldn't shock me because he's all about the money, and you want to shock 19,000 people in New York City at Arthur Ashe Stadium. You bring out a Lesnar or a Daniel Bryan.
But was there truth that Lesnar signing that deal not to wrestle somewhere else with WWE? I know that had broke a couple weeks ago. That he signed a new deal, but not to wrestle, just so he couldn't go wrestle elsewhere.
Well, I know Heyman has been in the press doing his best negotiating shit talk in the press about Lesnar can do whatever he wants. He can go fight in UFC if he wants. So he's already starting to stoke the fires of give me more money.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And also, did you notice? I don't know if you saw the new video WWE released with their crowds are back. They had the yes thing featured right in the middle of that, which makes me wonder what is going on with Daniel Bryan.
Yeah.
So if he does, it's going to shock the world if he really does show up there.
The way I look at it with Daniel Bryan is I feel like his return after he was retired kind of was like a wash, and he kind of fell back and I think he was ready to leave before he returned, and it was more like, all right, let's try it for 5 more years. Right. It feels crazy that we're saying it was 5 more years because it feels like it was yesterday, but we all know Daniel Bryan's a wrestler's wrestler. Yep. He's like William Regal was the man's man. Yeah. I feel like if Daniel Bryan's maybe got 5 more years left, right? Say that. I feel it would be more beneficial to get in a company that loves work rate, loves, seeing what you could do in the ring, seeing how you could, hone your skills again. Daniel Bryan was amazing before he joined WWE. Imagine what he could be doing now with all these years of, being at the top for so long. I think he would kill it in AEW. I think there's talent for him to wrestle. Not saying, Ricochet's not a good guy for Daniel Bryan to be going at, but how many times are we going to watch Daniel Bryan fall to that mid-card level without, proving himself? Give the guy a damn break before he has to actually retire. It sucks.
So, I mean, I agree with you. I've always felt, and I've actually tweeted this to Daniel Bryan, and he actually responded to me one time with a little emoji. How I felt that I said something like, "Don't you feel like Vince has always held you back, even though he was forced to push you?" And he did me sent me a little wink emoji.
Really?
Because I felt like, even, when he got hurt after he won a championship after the whole Yes movement, and he comes back and they put on the Intercontinental title, they didn't want to push him. Vince never wanted to push the guy.
No.
Even when the crowd responded, he didn't care. Ooh, excuse me.
Yeah, he forced their hand. Absolutely. Yeah. And
even when they forced it, they still didn't respond to it. They gave him the WrestleMania moment. He gets hurt, he comes back, you're Intercontinental champion.
Right.
Yeah. There was Vince just didn't want to do it with the guy, and that's stupid because you have a whole stadium chanting yes and going berserk when this guy comes out, and for some reason you don't get behind that.
Well, when they had him sitting on the shelf and none of the WWE doctors would clear him, Daniel Bryan at one point pretty much put the gun to their head and said, "Hey, if you're not going to let me wrestle, cut me so I can go wrestle." Because I remember him saying I'll go wrestle on the independents. I don't need this big stage. I just want to wrestle. And when he came back, the only thing I really connected with when he did come back, I loved the heel Daniel Bryan when he had the belt, the
organic belt.
Yeah, the organic belt. It was so great, man. Yeah. I love that.
Again, I think he had a little creative control in that because it was like they went to him. Certain people, they still let have liberties. They say Sami Zayn gets liberties to have some control over what he gets to say. I think Kevin Owens does too. Not total control like they would have if they were in AEW. And you got to wonder, guys like Kevin Owens, what they think when they hear that. Like, if I could go over there, or are they happy? Because Kevin Owens is used for WWE, he's used decently. Not what he could be, but I mean, I would think he sees that, and your mouth has to water.
And all of his buddies are over there. He's really tight with the Bucks and all those guys. Like,
oh man. I mean, the beneficial part for him is at least they're both taking on different parts of the world on their own ends, right?
Right.
But like when Kevin Owens won the title, it was awesome, right? When he debuted against Cena,
It was
and he was
awesome.
like, that was like a great moment. But
it was.
They they light this huge ass fire under people, and then they put it out so quickly. It sucks the life out of whatever programs they're doing. Sucks the life out of all the work they put into the character. Like Kevin Owens is like a watered down version of Kevin Owens from NXT, which is a watered down version of Kevin Steen. You know, and like now you're like, shit, man. Like I'd rather see him pour gas on the fire instead of put the damn towel on it and just let the shit smoke. Like give me a fucking Kevin Steen moment in WWE.
Yeah, man.
That's what we need.
Yep.
Well, it's like we talked about. WWE would never just put the rocket on somebody's back and say go for it.
Yeah,
they'll never do it. They'll never stand behind them and let it just take off like they should have with Daniel Bryan, like they should have with Kevin Owens, like they should have with so many people. Even Finn Balor, he debuts and wins the title at SummerSlam. He gets hurt, and that's the last thing, the major push he got on the main roster.
It was a shame.
it was a shame because that was actually an exciting time.
Yeah,
it looked great.
It's really disheartening. I listen to Busted Open every day, and when you hear Bully Ray and Mark Henry talk about how the days of the Stone Colds and the Rocks getting bigger, people getting so over they're bigger than the company, they're like, the company isn't ran like that anymore. They're like, Vince doesn't want anyone to be bigger than WWE because it gets into where they have power over them. So they're wanting fans to come to these shows to see WWE, not to see Stone Cold, The Rock, Hulk Hogan. And it's sad because that means they will never let anyone get too big, which means the days of the larger than life icons in WWE seem to be done until that philosophy changes.
How much do you think Rock's success has to do with Vince thinking this way?
I feel like it's a mixture of Rock and Hogan. Like he got the glimpse of it with Hogan. He started doing all these movies and stuff. And he's like, okay. And then Hogan was like, I'm going to WCW. I'm going to start shooting, Thunder in Paradise. And like, it's just like, shit, this guy's got a TV show. And then The Rock comes along, who was kind of on the back burner for a while with Stone Cold being so over. But then The Rock, built up this huge, huge, huge career for himself. And now you see Cena doing the same thing, kind of mirroring those footsteps. But I don't think Cena ever got to that level of, like, he was over, obviously, he's John Cena and he's a household name, but I don't think he got to the levels where it was almost challenging for WWE to kind of work with him as it would have been with The Rock.
Right.
And then now The Rock's like, when The Rock was doing Tooth Fairy, it was a different story, but now we got Cena's still working there. Rock was like, I'm out because like I'm taking a break. I got shit to do. I got to make some money.
Right. I think
some really good shit.
Yeah, I think a big thing too that really scared them with someone getting too big was when, at the height of Austin said peace out for 6 months.
Yeah.
And just took his ball and went home. I think that moment was like, we can never be in this situation again.
Yeah. But it's a shame because they turned the glass ceiling into the cement, concrete blocker.
Yeah.
And now if there's nobody's, if you can't break through, then what are you doing? If you can't go out there and prove yourself, you're just going out there to work a job. And it makes you no different than the guy at the toll booth or the construction worker. And again, there's no shame in doing anything like that. But like, these guys aren't bigger than life characters if they can't go out there and prove themselves. They got nothing to work for. Like Ricochet could go out there and do, 1,000 badass moves. But if it's not going to put them in the title picture, then like, why are you working so hard to, do it? It sucks the fun out of the whole damn concept of pro wrestling.
And that's where I think, this inflated roster, it's like people are making the decision to come over and AEW is taking them up on it because they're picking and choosing and they're seeing who has talent and they're like, hey, come over here. We'll let you. There is no glass ceiling.
Yep.
Get yourself over as big as you want to get. There's a lot of people over there that are there are no obviously Stone Colds or The Rocks right now. we're 2 years into this company, but when you watch a Dynamite like we just had, when the Bucks came out and interrupted Hangman, that to me felt like that's a big moment. It felt big. It felt like
huge. Yeah.
It felt like a massive moment. Here's Hangman. He's finally, I call him the Jon Snow of Game of Thrones. He's the reluctant hero. He doesn't want to go on this quest, but he finally decides to go on this quest. That was a monster moment that I feel like they would have clipped the wings of in WWE, but they're giving these guys a chance, and those guys can trust in the leadership in that company to let the story play out organically the way the crowd wants it to play out.
Yeah. Like you look at that story, it's we're 3 years in the making of seeing like this all come to a head, and like the little jabs where he's like, "Oh, I smell you're still hitting the bottle, dude," and like, and then like Kenny comes in, he's like, "Everybody back up! I got to talk to my former tag partner." And like you're like, "Shit, dude," and then they're like, "But they're selling this so good," and then like even with the Dark Order shit, where they just kick Dark Order off being the Elite, and then they're like, but now they're making the Dark Order this. They're finally putting the gas behind the Dark Order, and it's like they're gonna get tag shots. I'm going to fucking get a title shot. Yeah. And like, what a better stipulation to put on the line. Well, okay, then if you don't win, you're out. And like, everybody knows if that Hangman's not going anywhere anytime soon. So it's like, fuck yeah, give me, like, I don't care if Dark Order wins the titles or not. It would be awesome, right? I don't mind if the Bucks keep it, but feels like they're hitting another kind of, they have like these waves of change in AEW. So every like 6-7 months, everything gets twisted upside down. Like you got Miro. Miro came in out of nowhere, took Darby out. Now Miro's like a fucking badass. And we all knew Miro could be a badass, but like we're seeing some awesome shit right now. Yeah, man. Now he's got the Bulgarian TNT title, and he's this beautiful motherfucker that's like, I'm here to fuck shit up. And you're like, like, why am I cheering for him right now? You're like, holy shit. Like, I'm a Rusev fan out of nowhere now. Like, this is great. And like, fuck, man, it's beautiful.
Well, dude, your point on the Dark Order, that is a testament to what we've been talking about, is these guys, they had the run with Brody, RIP. We all miss Brody. And then everyone is kind of like, what's next for the Dark Order? Are they just a comedy act? What's up, Ivan? But are they just a comedy act on BTE? Like, are they just running in? And, we'd see the little things with Hangman, and now they're thrust into the storyline with the world heavyweight champion and the tag team champions. So they've just kind of peppered them throughout Dynamite over the last couple months. They haven't been a major force for a while. John Silver's been hurt. They've kind of had matches here and there. 10 got his big match for the TNT title against Darby. That was awesome. But other than that, they haven't been in a spotlight. So for them to throw him in, or throw the Dark Order into this, I mean, it is the premier story right now. Hangman Omega. Yeah. It's excellent.
And it's nice their meat. It's nice to see the Dark Order getting the push now. Said it kind of needed to do what it did and simmer for a little bit after that, but now it's nice to see that they're going to get that nice little push again. But let's bring it all back together. Kind of. We talked about how much the talent the roster has in AEW. We're not saying WWE doesn't have a talented roster.
It's amazing.
Their roster is, I mean, look at the talent they've just released over the last 2 years. But their roster is super talented as well, but it's just not used properly. Dude, and it's not the talent's fault.
The talent,
look how much talent they have on there.
They are so their roster is so talented that the talent they've released could be a fucking company. Like it
could be right up there with WWE and AEW.
Yeah,
they've legit released about 40 men that could start another promotion that would have such star power. And if you look at what they have now, they still have star power, and the guys they still have are so talented. But it's just the difference between AEW, and the reason we don't say this with WWE is because it's not used right.
Dude, you can have that. You can have all the paint, all the beautiful colors in the world, but if the painter isn't painting good, doesn't mean shit. You know, if you don't have Bob Ross throwing it down on that canvas,
little tiny bushes,
happy little cheese.
Yeah, it's never the little squirrel in the tree. It's never the talent, man. The talent is through the roof. It's always the booking.
I just don't want people to think of saying, "Oh, WWE doesn't have talent." We're not saying that. They have just as much talent. It's just not used, and it's a shame. I wish we had a problem with WWE. WWE,
look at Bo Dallas.
Yeah.
Bo Dallas in NXT was awesome. When he first came up to the main roster doing the Bo Leave stuff, I thought it was fun. It was interesting. But that guy sat in catering for like 2.5 years. You never saw him.
Tyler Breeze.
Yeah, that's the type of shit.
Tyler Breeze was so over, and so was Fandango. When Fandango first came out,
he beat Jericho at Mania.
Yeah,
that was his debut match.
Everybody was losing their shit. They loved the entrance, and there was like, nope, like cut it. Like we don't want that shit anymore.
Yeah, man,
it sucks, man.
So it's not that they don't have talent; it's just used differently and not allowed to shine to be who they are.
Well, anybody who's mad at the wrestlers, anybody who's like shitting on wrestlers is just an asshole. Because like the wrestler, we love the wrestlers. It's never about that. It's always about how are they used. You know, it's a storytelling business. Yeah. And at the core, you know, I love wrestling matches, but at the core of it for me is the stories you're telling me in the ring and out of the ring to get to the ring. So, you know, if you're not telling good stories, I don't give a fuck about the shit in the ring. I don't care.
Yeah, that's so true. It's a shame because you could have all the talent in the world, and if it's not used right, like, have we ever seen AEW's been on for 2 years now on Dynamite?
2019 of October. So
okay, so almost in 2 years. We've never seen a rematch back-to-back weeks, have we?
No. They don't really do rematches that much.
No, I mean they do, but it's
but it's story based. Like if there's a
exactly
case in point, we all wanted FTR and the Bucks. I mean, before the FTR ever came into that company, that was the dream match.
And we've gotten one so far.
And we got one.
Yeah.
We've got one.
Know, like WWE would have cycled that in and out on Raw, SmackDown. They had to war it out in a month.
Yeah. And it's the same thing.
We're wanting it.
They did it with Ricochet and Morrison. They put on that first match and had everybody loving it. And they give it to you again next week. And then they give you another one the following week with the Falls Count Anywhere. You didn't let it slowly simmer. You should have let it go to Money in the Bank and have that match and let that build from time. They don't let things build organically anymore.
And like that second match was okay.
Yeah.
Like it didn't improve anything different. It was no better than the original match. And there was no comparison. Like it didn't evolve anything. It was just like, go do the same shit again, but like only one count out. Like we're not going to fuck around, okay? And you're like, all right. Like I don't understand what you guys are doing with it, but like you got to watch it and like just go with it. And it just kind of sucks, man.
Yeah, dude. If you would put Vince in Tony's spot and Tony Khan in Vince's spot, the first thing that would happen on AEW is we would have Hangman and Omega tagging together to see if they can coexist.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that would be the first order would be, we need Hangman and Omega to go against the Dark Order and we're going to see if they can coexist. But dude, Vince would run AEW into the fucking ground and Tony Khan, if he had that roster, he would do something with it. I'm not trying to be a homer here or a fanboy or a total AEW mark, but I would not trust Vince with AEW's roster, but I would trust Tony Khan with WWE.
I agree 100%. I definitely agree. It's and again, it's not like we don't want WWE to be good. I still watch it every week. I want it to be better. I want to enjoy it like I'm enjoying AEW.
Absolutely.
I'm looking forward to SmackDown tonight to have the fans back and see how everything interacts there. It's something I'm looking forward to. But I want the storytelling. I want the promos I'm getting on AEW.
Yeah. No, I couldn't agree more. It's even with fans back, it's going to be hard to stomach the WWE. I'm going to watch SmackDown tonight, just so you know, and breaking the rules here on my end. But,
you want to come on a recap show, Mike?
We'll see what happens, man. As long as I don't fall asleep during this, the first hour. But yeah, man, if Tony Khan was running WWE, it would be just as good, if not better, than AEW. And vice versa. Like if Vince was running AEW, like you were saying, like it would be like weird shit like that. Cody would be, let's put Cody in the title picture, even though he swore off having the belt, 2 years ago. Like, whatever. Fans don't pay attention to the rules. Like, that's the one thing that we're learning is fans really do pay attention to these tiny ass details. The build up for Hangman and Omega has been going on since the company started. The Bucks getting involved makes it juicier, and you're like, you're not just getting, just the steak, you're getting the a la carte fucking entree. Like you're getting the potatoes, you're getting the asparagus, you're getting a little mac and cheese. Like, but it's a full meal there. Like, it feels like as opposed to WWE, you're kind of getting like the same Lunchable every week. You're like,
exactly.
Oh, fuck, man. And
MJF and Jericho, if they match up at All Out, which looks like that's when they're going, that'll be a year that's been going on.
Yeah. So, and remember all the shit people were talking when they did the dance scene with the dinner. They're like, this is stupid, but it's paying off right now.
Dinner
look at
debonair.
Sean Spears. We were all talking about like what's left for Sean Spears like a couple months ago. And he's fucking wrestling Jericho next week, and it's gonna be great. Like,
I'm talking about a share shot.
Yeah, still talking
awesome
about the fucking chair shot. It's great, man, and like they're almost taking the rules that we're expecting, and they're like, "Oh, watch us go around this." With the chair shot thing. Like, Cody got the chair shot, and like now it's a huge part of their storyline that Cody's not even fucking involved in. Like, it makes it even better because you're like, "Oh, okay." Like, so it was just like a little hill, and then we're going bigger, and we're going bigger, and now soon we're going to be on a fucking mountain, and we're going to be loving it. It's great,
dude,
man.
I mean, talking about, this is the last thing I'm going to say on it, is that talking about too much roster, and we kind of went on the whole booking and Tony Khan and Vince and the differences and stuff like that, but like, when you build goodwill with your fans, and you listen to your fans when they don't like things, like the Nightmare Collective with Brandy and Awesome Kong. No one liked it. They got rid of it. When you show that you're listening and you right wrongs and you give fans what they want, we will trust you to handle talent. I don't think they have given us, I'm going to speak for myself. They have given me no reason to fear the amount of wrestlers that they've acquired. I feel like so far they've done everything right. And until it gets to the point where I'm like, man, they're not using this guy, they're not using that guy. Now, if it gets to that point, I'll say so. Yeah. But they've given me no reason to fear who they're signing, what they're doing, and how they're handling talent.
Yep.
No, I agree. And you got WWE. Stephanie comes out and she says, "Oh, we have this whole new presentation that people are going to love." We don't care about presentation.
No,
we want to see story. We don't care about whatever you're going to do now with your new AR. We don't care. Give us good stories. Give us good wrestling. That's all there is to it.
It's like trying to, put flowers on a turd. Like they're trying to bedazzle a turd, and you know what I mean? Like, dude, I don't give a fuck about the entrance or the music or the package. Like, give me good stories. Quit trying to dress up turds.
The security guard from Joe Dirt said it best. You can't paint, or you can paint rust all you want. It's still going to be fucking rust, It's a shame, but like, it's true. Nobody wants to see fancy graphics and bigger Tron screens. Like, we want to see fucking, better product before we start seeing all that fucking bedazzles jackets and shit.
Who cares?
It's so true. Well, I mean, I guess that's it. I think we've covered it all. Tonight we have the SmackDown recap show. Tomorrow we'll be dropping a Money in the Bank preview show. Follow us if you're watching. Subscribe, like the video. Follow us.
Turn the bell on.
Yeah, turn the bell on so you're notified.
Ring that bell. Ding, 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 ding.
Follow us on Twitter and Instagram. Turnbuckle Tavern on Instagram. T-Buckle Tavern on Twitter. Am I missing anything, guys? Anything you want to plug? Our contest.
The Fig Friday. Fig Friday next week. Next Friday.
Yeah.
Debuting next week. It'll be Sneed, Mike Belcaster, and myself. Fig Friday, our first episode. And maybe even a little preview before then with the drops, with the Comic-Con drops on Monday coming up.
Ooh.
So but definitely stay tuned. Fig Friday, every Friday. You watch, you never know what happens. You never know what you could win. Just
Hell yeah.
putting it out
Free
there.
giveaways.
Everybody
Free
loves free
giveaways
shit.
For those watching live. So I
Come get
think
it,
that's
brother.
it. That's it for now, guys. Thank you for joining us. We will see you all soon.